Hi, my name is Iyetunde Adeyemi, and I am a flight attendant based in Lagos, Nigeria. Today, we are going to be talking about why is it difficult to get a flight attendant job. It's not difficult for everybody. It's difficult for some, while for some, it's much easier. And we're going to be talking about that to help you understand how the system works aviation in Nigeria and in some other countries. So if it's something that you're interested in, please stay tuned and watch till the end. So I'm going to first of all start by talking about Nigeria, where I'm based. I started my career in April 2007. And before I got my first job, it took 2 years before I got my first job. And if I look back and I look at the process of how I got the job, I realized that there are certain things that always contribute to helping you find a job easier. And let me first of all start by the connections that are around you. When I mean connection, I'm not talking about knowing the manager, knowing the one big person somewhere. A lot of times we take the little things for granted. The friend beside you can be your next big connection. But we always tend to look down on certain people because you think they are not of any caliber. I got my first job as a result of a friendship. We went to the same school and we're three of us that were looking for a job. And how did I get my first job? She met a friend of hers that they went to the same primary school. And that is how she knew that there was a recruitment taking place. Mind you, in Nigeria, most of the time, these recruitments are not advertised. Most times is in-house. And so everyone working in that airline would tell other people that they know. So that's why I said, even the person you think is not going to be a connection can actually have a family member or a schoolmate or someone they know working in that place. That was how my friend told me and told the other person that there's a recruitment going on in this airline. It's a startup airline. You guys should come and you guys should come and submit your CV. And the good thing about it is that they were looking for ab initio because I didn't have any experience at all. And that was how I got my first cabin crew job. My second cabin crew job, I got it as a result of the relationship that I built while I was working in my first job. That person, I was looking for another job. About it, and that was how she told me to send her CV to her. This person is not a manager or one big person somewhere. We just worked in the same previous airline, and because I built a good connection, well, it built like a family in my first job. It was easier for me to get the second job. The third job too, it was a colleague of mine. So I can say to you that all the jobs that I've gotten them as a result of relationships. Now, if you have the opportunity of going to an aviation school, please build relationship. The person next to you could be the person that will give you the information about a startup airline. See, there will always be recruitment when there's a startup airline. That's number one. That's why I'm always praying that the government funds all these funds, gives the airlines backings, or someone will have one of people that run businesses, maybe they want to diversify and start an airline. These are the things, these are the factors that always fuel employment. A startup airline, they will always need, at first they will need experienced hands, but once their first set of candidates will be experienced, because obviously they will have to do a demo flight, and you cannot do a demo flight with ab initio. Ab initio means new cabin crew. Cannot do ab initio with cabin crew that have never flown before. But the next batch of recruitment usually is always ab initio, because having cabin crew with no experience, most times it's easier for them to train people that don't have experience because they always tend to stay longer in a company. Experienced candidates, I'll be very honest, do not spend as much as ab initio candidates. I can tell you this for free. So that's the number one driving for a startup airline. Number two, when an airline invests in buying more aircrafts, The more aircrafts they have, the more recruitment that they are going to have. The more routes that they introduce, they will need more hands. So these are the driving force of recruitment. Now, another thing is, I told you that experienced hands always tend to leave to other places. Now, let me give you the mathematics. If there's a startup airline, experienced crew in other airlines who want to experience, oh, let me submit my CV here. Let me see what they have to offer. Now, if that new airline has more to offer than their previous airline, what's going to happen? They will resign and they will start working at the startup airline. Now, if staffs resign, they will need to replace those staffs that have resigned. So these are the things that usually fuel recruitment. Startup airlines, new routes, purchasing of more aircrafts. These three things always fuel recruitment. So if you want to know if there's going to be a recruitment, once you hear of an airline that is about to start to look for how you're going to push your CV to that airline. Once an airline is telling you that they are planning to introduce more routes means more hands to work. When you hear an airline saying that, oh, we've made an order of, I'm not talking about 30 Airbuses. I'm talking about when they tell you we've made order of 3 Airbuses, 5 Boeing 737. When they tell you that they've made an order of more aircraft to come, more aircraft means more recruitment. So be on the lookout and build your connection strategically. Now let's talk about airlines in Europe and America. Airlines in Europe and America, most times you always have to have a work permit. You have to have a permanent residence. You have to have the right to work there. The European airlines always want you to have an EASA cabin crew license, which you only get from Europe. So if by any chance you're still interested in being a cabin crew, if you have the opportunity to relocate to a European country, these are the strategies. You get a European cabin crew license. That's what they call EASA license. And you also make sure you have the right, a work permit, residence, permanent residence in that country, in that European country. Now I'm going to talk about the Middle Eastern airline, that is the Emirates, the Qatar. These airlines recruit all year round, but the sad thing is that they do not really come to Africa as much. One African country that I know that they usually go to all the time is Morocco. So if you have the opportunity of going to Morocco, they go to Morocco. And I know they go to Morocco all the time because a lot of times I check their website and I always see that Morocco. So that's the African country that they go to most of the time. There may be Kenya. In Qatar Airways, sometimes they go to Ghana. But the thing is, when they go to these countries, it's because they want, those are the indigenes of those countries that they are interested in most of the time. You could actually be lucky, because I believe in miracles. You can actually be lucky that maybe at that point in time you're in Morocco and Qatar Airways is doing an assessment day in Morocco, and you decide to submit your CV, and voila, you can actually be lucky you get the job. However, one thing I know is that I'm judging from the recent recruitment that they did in Ghana. Most of the people that were taken were actually Ghanaians. So which means what they were interested in were Ghanaians. Now, they also do a lot of recruitment in European countries. The Middle East Airlines, they do recruitment every month in London. That one I know. Every month they go to London to do recruitment. They go to London, they go to Spain, they go to once in a while they go to Germany. But I know that these two countries, London and Spain, and maybe France, they go there all the time. But they go to European countries a lot to go and do recruitment. The Middle Eastern airline. So if at any point in time you go for holiday, you travel, or maybe if the airline that you're working for does a route to London and maybe you have like 3 days layover, We can attend their open day and see how it works. Sometimes people say that it's difficult to get invited to their assessment. Why? Let me answer that question. Yes, I won't say it's difficult, but it all has to do with what the company needs at that time. Let me give for example, you know, they might say, okay, they are going to London for recruitment. These are the kind of candidates that we want to recruit in London. We want people that speak both English and Arabic. And maybe out of the, if you get to the final interview, and they're able to get at least two or three people that speak English or Arabic, you might actually be rejected. Not because you're not good enough, but it all has to do with what the company needs at that point in time. Remember that they are a multicultural organization, and so they recruit according to the needs of the company. If they need people that speak French, they would they will do a recruitment in France, but with French comes with some other requirements that they will want. And if you do not meet that requirement, unfortunately, you will be rejected. So a lot of times, the rejections that you get from most of this Middle East airline is not because you're not good enough. You might even be the perfect candidate, but at that point in time, they need some certain requirements. And if you do not meet up with those certain requirements, you will be rejected. So that's why I say, going for this assessment, you can only hope that I meet all the requirements that they need at that point in time. So when you apply to Emirates, you apply to Qatar, you apply to Etihad, you apply to Riyadh, and you get a rejection email, do not feel bad. I always say, try again. At that point in time, maybe you don't have the requirements that they want. You don't have the requirements that they want, and therefore, that's why you were rejected. Another requirement, maybe they say, okay, we need people between the ages of 25 and 30, and maybe at that time, you're already 32. Sometimes they could go for a recruitment and they say, okay, they need people within the ages of 35 and 40. I know some people say that in Emirates, they don't recruit people that are over 30. Well, I don't know. I know of someone who was recruited in Qatar Airways at the age of 44. Because for me, I just like to look at the requirements. I know the requirements is you must be 21 years old at the time of application. So I don't look down on myself. It might be their norm, I don't know, but I just don't try it. I look at the requirements and see if I possess those requirements on the website. And if I have the requirements of the website, I will send in my application. If they have an open day and I'm in the country that are doing an open day at that point in time, I'll give it a try. I'm not going to allow certain certain beliefs that some people have created affect my own decision of sending in my application to a particular organization that I'm interested in. I encourage you that whenever you face a rejection, I don't want you to look at it that you're not good enough. Just encourage yourself and try again. At that point in time, you might not have the requirements that they want for that particular recruitment. But who knows? The next recruitment, you could actually fit into everything that they want. I'm rooting for you. My name is Iyetunde Adeyemi. Subscribe to my channel and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.